Hi everybody, welcome back to another lesson in my level 3 beginner piano course. In today's video we're going to learn about playing in thirds and sixths. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so, and if you like what you see, give this video a thumbs up. Also, I offer online piano lessons. If you're looking for one, there's going to be information below. Playing in thirds and sixths refers to the interval between the two notes that you play consecutively, and it's extremely common in intermediate and advanced piano music, not so much in beginner piano music. So we need to learn about, first of all, what this is and how we can play it correctly in a detached staccato and a legato way. The legato is going to be much harder and it requires a lot of practice. So let's have a look first of all what are thirds. So here is a melody, C, D, C, B, which is actually the top part of what you see on the screen. And if I want to add a third below to each of these notes, you can add thirds above or below, it doesn't really matter, but in the example here it's below. So a third below C is A, a third below D is B, because it's three letter names, so C, B, A, D, C, B. Then you come down. So all of these notes have now a third attached to them, so it goes like this. The same melody, but in thirds. So that's what it means when you play a melody in thirds, that every single note of the melody is going to have a third above or below. Playing in sixths is the exact same idea, so I can play the same melody, and I'm going to add the sixth underneath to each note. You can also add it above if you want to. So the sixth above C is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or C, B, A, G, F, E is a 6 in E. And then just parallel going up, coming down, and down. Now the good thing about playing in thirds and sixths is it's very easy to sight read, because you only need to read the top or the bottom melody, and the third and the sixth is always going to be the same distance from the melody note. So even without trying to work out the sixths, I'm just going to move. If the note moves up, I move up with the bottom as well and move down. So that's what it means to play in sixths and thirds. Now let's see what happens when we try to play these in two different ways, detached playing and legato playing. The technique, shape and finger numbers used for both of these are going to be very different, so it's vital to practice playing with both articulations. In the left example here you can see the thirds, and in the first bar you can see it detached, and in the second bar you can see it legato. So what is the difference? If we play detached, we can use the same fingers all the way through because we can lift up the hand. We don't need to connect those notes. So 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, and 2, 4. So very simple. The only thing you really need to watch when you play detached thirds is that the two notes go down perfectly together, instead of where you hear this tirum tirum, which is a little bit of a delay in one of the fingers. So concentrating, rounding the hand, keeping the fingers curved, and concentration that the two fingers go down perfectly together. There we are. The second bar is much harder. It is legato, the exact same notes but connected. Now, in order to play it connected, we have to use different finger numbers because we can't lift up the hand. So if I start 2, 4 here, I need to have 2 more fingers to go up, which is going to be 3, 5, then come back to 2, 4, and 1, 3. And this way I had no gap between the notes. It was completely connected, legato playing. Now the difficulty in this is first of all that you need to have the right finger numbers, because if I start for example on 3, 5 here, I need to lift up the hand to go up because I have no more fingers. So really important to always check the fingerings and see if it's going to work. The second thing obviously is the same that applied to detached notes, which means the two notes have to go down perfectly together. But when you try to move legato, it's 10 times harder than detached. Many times when you try to move from 2, 4 to 3, 5, it's going to sound like this. Because the fingers are all different lengths and you're not allowing the hand to come up, so you have to compensate for the different lengths of the fingers. Now, the best way to practice this is extremely slowly and concentrating. I believe that 60% of the job is concentration and being really focused. So the most important thing again is a rounded hand shape. Make sure the fingers are supported. If your knuckles are kind of collapsing and the wrist goes down too low, you're going to feel tension and it's going to be very hard to move legato in thirds or sixths. So try to keep the hand a little bit more raised to have a nice arch, dome shape to your hand so the fingers are well supported and you're not playing just from the fingers. The hand can aid that movement. The wrist should feel very soft and relaxed, so no tension at all. You have to be able to move it freely. And when we move towards the shorter fingers, we're going to do a little bit of rotation, so rotating towards that finger to compensate for the shortness. So let's start again on 2-4. I'm going to lift these fingers a little bit higher now, just to really concentrate on dropping them down at the same time without lifting these up. So I'm concentrating and turning in towards the little finger, keeping it curved, playing with the fingertips and lifting. And back, same idea, lifting 1 and 3 and concentrating so that they go down together, leaning towards finger 1. And there we are. And if you can do this very slowly, eventually it will work faster as well, but it's a long learning process and you can't expect yourself to be able to play these things fast at the very start. It requires a lot of practice, not just for the muscles to memorize that kind of alignment, but also for the brain to train that kind of motion. Now let's see the second one on the right, which is the sixths. So here we have, again, first detached. We can use 1-5 all the way through. Now, when you play bigger intervals, you won't be able to keep the hand so rounded depending on the size of your hand. If you have small hands, you need to stretch quite a lot. And then obviously the hand is going to collapse a little bit, so it makes it harder to play these intervals. But if you have bigger hands, try to still keep a rounded hand shape as much as you can. When we move to legato, now here we have multiple options depending on the size of the hand. Some people will simply not be able to use certain fingerings because the hand is not big enough. So the standard one, or the most common fingering to move legato, is doing 1-4, 1-5, 1-4, and 1-3. Now what you noticed here is I cheated a little bit, and there's no other way to do this. So when we move with such big intervals, we have to use the thumb for multiple notes, which means we can't do a full legato, but we can at least do legato with one of the notes. So if I slow this down, I lift up the 1, keep the 4 down, I connect to the 1-5, I keep the 5 down, lift up the 1, back to 1-4, lift up the 1 and connect to 1-3. So although it's not true legato because one of the notes is not connected, at least one of them is, so you don't get a gap between the intervals. Now another fingering that's very common is 1-4, 2-5, 1-4, and 1-3. This one is harder because you have to stretch a lot more between 1-4 and 2-5, but it's also very common. I find that 1-4, 1-5, 1-3 works best, especially for smaller hands. But again, it's something you need to experiment with, which one feels more comfortable and which one allows you to get a nice, clean, expressive sound. Now that we talked about thirds and sixths, this is the introduction to this whole unit, let's have a look at 2 warm-ups. The first one is going to be a warm-up in thirds, and the second one is going to be in sixths. So very similar what we did now, but we can use it as a warm-up session. So the first one is the right hand, which starts in the C position, 1, 3, 5, and it's very simple. We just go up 3 notes and then we swap for the held dotted half note. So 1, 3, 2, 4, 3, 5, and 2, 4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Before playing it legato, if you find this very difficult, you can play it a few times detached using just fingers 2 and 4. Or you could use the correct fingering and still play detached. And eventually when you get to legato, you really have to watch the smoothness between those slurred notes. The left hand is playing the exact same notes. You can play it an octave down. I notated it in the treble clef to make it easier to read, but we start here on 3-5, so not 1-3, it's a mirrored version. So 3-5, 2-4, 1-3, and 2-4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. No need to play it hands together, you can play it hands separately. And a good way to challenge yourself is to try to play it a note higher, so moving up to the D position. And then moving up to the E position, and so on. You can try it from all the keys from C to C, or if you want an ultimate challenge, you could try it in different keys. So for example, we learned about the G major, F major, and D major. So if I play it in D major, I have to remember the F sharp. And that's going to be even harder because we have black notes which are more raised than the white keys. The second exercise is the exact same but for sixes. So again, you can play it first detached with 1-5. And once you did that, let's go on to legato. And here I put the harder fingering, but remember you can use an easier one if you want to. So 1-3. 1-4 and 2-5 and then 1-5. And the left hand the exact same thing. 2-5, 1-4, 1-3 and 1-5. Now again, if you want to avoid number 2 because it's too stretchy, you can use number 1 all the way through. 1-5, 1-4, 1-3 and then swap. Whichever works best. With this one, again, you can move higher and higher, but no need to go into different keys. It might be a bit too complicated. And these two exercises, if you do them for a couple of weeks, it will really prepare you for the pieces that come next, which are going to use these legato and detached thirds and sixths in a much more difficult and complex context.